All right, so in the first episode, I spoke about the root causes of fibroids, the things that actually fuel the growth of fibroids, what actually causes the growth of fibroid in the first place. That's what I spoke about in the first episode, and I believe maybe some of you have missed it. Unfortunately, I did not record that, but maybe we can have a makeup for it, a makeup session for that. Then on the second episode, we talked about the triggers. What are the things that fuel or promote the growth of fibroids? What are the things that actually promote the growth? The things you need to look out for. So that was what we spoke about in the second episode. And today we are going to take it further. We continue with the discussion. And hello, Jones Marison. Hello. Okay, so today we are going to be looking at the different types of fibroids and how they could be impacting on your life or your health, your quality of life, your menstrual health and all of that, fertility and all. Who would like to know about that? Okay, Benet says, hope you're recording this because I would love to send it to someone. Yes, I will record it. It will be on my YouTube channel. I don't know if I'll be able to put it in my feed or in my IGTV, but I will. Okay. We're going to be talking about the different types and how they might be impacting on your quality of life. So basically, there are 4 different types of fibroids. When we are talking about fibroid here, we're talking about uterine fibroids because there are different types, but we are focusing on uterine fibroids. And maybe I might just include a 5th type because it still affects the reproductive system. Today we're talking about the 4 types. Let's go head on because the type of fibroids you have can determine how it can affect your fertility, your ability to conceive, or whether you are prone to having miscarriages and all of those things and other symptoms too. And that's why we're talking about the type. That's why it matters. And I'll also be sharing from some of the experiences I've seen from some of my observations from the clients I've worked with. All right. Okay, so the first type of fibroid we're talking about is intramural fibroid. Now, intramural fibroid is actually the most common type of fibroid. That's what most people experience. Fibroids. And uterine fibroid, by the way, is fibroid that grows in the womb. So when you hear uterus, it's the womb. It's just the medical jargon. They didn't use English. They used Latin and Greek and all those words to form most of these medical terms. So when you hear uterus, it's the womb. All right, to make it simple. Okay, so I was talking about the first type, which is the intramural fibroid. Okay, so the first type is intramural fibroid. Now, intramural fibroid is actually the type that grows within the wall. So let's say this is the womb. This is the womb. It's a muscular organ. Now, inside the wall, the intramural fibroid grows in there, just inside, like in the middle of that wall, inside it. That's the intramural fibroid, and it is the most common type of fibroids, amongst women. Of course, obviously, it's women that have fibroids. So it's the most common type of fibroid, and it has its own implications. Okay, so intramural fibroid grows within the wall, in the middle, like inside the wall, the muscle, inside the actual muscle. That's why we say intramural. Mural just has to do with the muscle. So intra means within, inside the wall of the womb. Okay, and I was talking about how it could affect your menstrual cycle and all that. Actually, it could cause prolonged menstrual bleeding, like I experienced that. I originally was having 3 days of menstrual flow, and then by the time the fibroids grew after I had my first baby, I was having 7 days of flu. You can imagine 7 versus 3. That's quite a big deal. And apart from that, it also could cause heavy menstrual flow, which is common with many women that have fibroids. Okay, especially if it's bigger, if it's not just small, or depending on the position, also like the intramural can actually cause heavy menstrual bleeding. Okay, so it can cause heavy and prolonged menstrual bleeding. Okay, and then it could also cause some pelvic discomfort too. It can cause pelvic discomfort. Some women experience pelvic pain and all that. So that's one thing about intramural fibroids. And intramural fibroids also can actually cause miscarriages because of the positioning. It may not allow for proper implantation of the egg, of the fertilized egg, And so because of that, once the egg, the what do we call it now, the the fertilized egg, when it's the embryo, yes, that's it. So when the embryo does not get properly implanted, it cannot get adequate nutrients from the mother, and so it dies off. That's what we call miscarriage. So that's the risk with the intramural fibroid. Those are the ways it can affect your menstrual health, your menstrual period, and fertility. Okay, and that's why some women just keep struggling to conceive or to keep a pregnancy to full term because of the fibroid. Okay, so the positioning of the fibroid is also important. Then all right, so now let's go on to the second type of fibroid. The second type of fibroid is submucosal fibroid. Yeah, they're waving back right at you. Okay, so the second type of fibroid is the submucosal fibroid. Now this, when you hear sub, it means like underneath. So submucosal fibroid grows under the mucous layer. Now when you have the womb is an organ, of course, like a muscular organ, and it has an opening, like a hollow inside. That's where the baby grows in. Now on the inner layer we have a kind of lining, mucous lining, okay, that lines the womb. This girl. Okay, now this type of fibroid grows right under that lining. Okay, right under that lining. You can just imagine. And these are the types that can be notorious. They can actually, extend into the cavity. Uche, Marquez, welcome. So these are the type that actually can even protrude into the lining, the cavity. Okay, they can just be growing and extend, and I've seen that also with quite a number of my clients that I'm working with. So I don't know, it seems to be more common. It's not supposed to be common. It's not supposed to be common. It's one of the rarest types based on the statistics and all that, but I'm seeing more of my clients have that also, apart from the intramural. Yes, almost all the clients I've worked with actually have the intramural type, and then I'm seeing more of the submucosal as well. So it's like for most women, they have intramural almost like a given, and then some others also now have submucosal type, and these ones of course are the most troublesome, because they are the ones that cause miscarriage. You can imagine that it's right under the lining, and that's where the implantation definitely is taking place. So those ones will cause heavy bleeding with clots. Even intramural can cause the bleeding with clots, prolonged bleeding, miscarriages. Has the highest propensity for causing all of that, and the pelvic pains and discomfort and all that too. Then the third type of fibroid is the subserosal type of fibroid. Now the subserosal, and serous, the serous layer. Now these ones are usually outside the wall. Okay, they usually grow on the outside. So this is the tissue. Let's say this is the womb. Let's use my fist, and there's a hollow. That's where the baby is supposed to grow in, right? Okay. Now on the outer wall. Remember that intramural is within the wall. The submucosal is in the cavity, right? Okay, just under the lining and can extend into the cavity. Now the subserosal grows on the wall, on the outside of the wall, the outer wall of the womb. Okay, that's where the subserosal live videos. Just bear with my people. Don't mind their noise. Okay, so that's what the subserosal type is like. Okay, it grows on the outside. Now, this type is the type that can affect the bladder, okay, because it can be pressing on the bladder, and so it can cause frequent urination. I know in the last masterclass we held, some ladies were complaining of that. So it's very real. It is very, very real. Okay, are we good? Hope I'm not talking to myself. Sure, okay. So the third type can be pressing on the organs, okay, some of the pelvic organs like the kidney, and could increase the frequency of urination. So it could make a woman have more urge to go and urinate because of the pressure it's placing on the organ. Could cause pelvic pain, could cause low back pain, could cause pain within the pelvis, So those are some of the things and those are the types actually that you can actually feel, when you palpate. Some women will say that they can feel it's protruding. Those are the types that commonly present like that. The fourth type of fibroid. The fourth type is the pedunculated fibroid. Now this pedunculated type is like, it grows in stalk-like mode, like stems that are joined, attached, like fingers kind of. They grow like stalks or stems, okay? And usually fibroids don't grow in singles. They are not commonly, you can hardly find them grow in singles. They're usually multiple, like in stalks, in clusters. Now this pedunculated type can be growing inside, it can be growing outside, it can be growing in the inner wall or on the outer wall. Do you understand? So we can have pedunculated that is subserosal or pedunculated that is submucosal commonly. So I hope you understand. So those are the four main types. Now the fifth type could also be a cervical fibroid. Yes, I think some weeks back a lady contacted me and she had one growing in her ovary. That's the ovarian. Okay. That's ovarian fibroid. You can imagine having fibroid in the ovary. That's also another one. But these types are not common. So some can also be growing in the cervix. The way it is, we have from the womb, the next passage in the canal is the cervix, then the vagina, and then the outer region, right? So some women could have fibroids that actually grow in the cervix. Now these types usually cause pains. They cause vaginal pain when they have vaginal penetration, when there's intercourse, when there's penetration, they will be feeling pains, okay, because of the fibroids. It's not a given, some may not feel pain, but it's common for a lot of women that have such type to experience pain during sex. So they could be experiencing pains during sex. That's common. And it could also affect their menstrual flow. They could be feeling a kind of pressure in that region. Could give them that kind of feeling of pressure, pelvic pressure, a feeling of fullness and discomfort in that area. So you see that the positioning of the fibroid can affect your quality of life in a number of ways. Can increase the number of days that you are bleeding for during your cycle, during your menstrual flow, during your menstruation. It can also increase the volume of the flow. Like in my experience, my flow was so heavy that the first 2 to 3 days, I had to be changing my pad like under 1 hour. Can you just imagine? And for some of my clients, I've seen a client that her flow was so bad that all right, so those are the four major types of fibroids, okay? And the fifth one, cervical fibroid, okay? So sometimes it may not just be growing in the womb, it could also extend into the cervix, or it could actually even be growing in the cervix. If you had joined in the episode where I spoke about the root causes of fibroid, then you would understand why it is possible for the fibroid to grow even in the cervix, okay? But essentially, for the benefit of those who were unable to join us for the previous episodes, let me just touch on it a bit. Essentially, the root cause of fibroid is a kind of hormonal imbalance that we call estrogen dominance. That is actually what promotes the growth of fibroid, and it's because of the way estrogen hormone, particularly the estradiol. Estradiol is the most potent form of the estrogen hormone. A woman produces three types of estrogen hormones, but the most potent of them is the estradiol, and that is what a woman produces mostly during her reproductive years until when she gets into menopause. At menopause, the estradiol levels just drastically drop. In fact, as a woman approaches menopause, it begins to drop, and then by the time she gets into menopause, it drops drastically, and that's why women in that age category usually feel some hot flashes and stuff like that. So the estradiol when there is an excess of it, when there's an excess of estradiol, it actually can stimulate, because one of the ways the estrogen hormone functions is that it stimulates the growth of the lining of the womb. So now you see, it stimulates the growth because it's supposed to prepare it so that when there's a pregnancy going to happen, that place will be ready to receive, like preparing the bed that the baby will lie on and be developed in, right? So when we have excess of this hormone, this particular hormone, the estradiol, and especially when we have the dirty forms. If you watch the first episode, I don't know if I can do a repeat of it. You know, the first episode, I really discussed about these things. I discussed these things rather. So the dirty estrogens are estrogens, mostly estrogens from external sources, foreign estrogen, like what we call xenoestrogens from plastics, from petrochemical waste, like exhaust pipe release, all those fumes from exhaust pipe, and you know, a whole lot of things that are in our environment. Some come from our skincare products. You know, you can just imagine things we're exposed to on a daily basis, on a regular basis. These things build up, and when some other factors are not properly addressed, they all contribute into producing this result of fibroid. But thankfully, we can actually reverse the process. We can actually help the body to eliminate the fibroid, and that's the good news. That's the good news. I've been able to do it for myself, been able to help other women, and that is the good news we are sharing. Okay, so basically these are the 4 types of fibroids, or if you like, call it 5 types of fibroids. So I hope somebody has learned something today. By next week, next episode, next week Wednesday, we're going to be discussing how to address fibroids, some things you can do about fibroids. Okay, is there hope for you? What are the sizes of fibroids? Is there hope for you? What can you begin to do now to improve, you know, your symptoms and all that? And what are the options, the treatment options that are available? All right. So I hope somebody found today's episode helpful. Was it enlightening? What did you like most? What was your biggest takeaway from this telecast? Can you share with me in the comments? Okay, can you share with me in the comments? Hello. Before we end this episode, I want to hear from you. Super Supply. I like that name. Super Supply. That's fantastic. Like you do large scale supplies, right? That's fantastic. I love the name. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Next week, let's do it again. We're going to be doing more. We're going to be talking more about, you know, some action steps you can take so that you can begin to address the fibroids. You can do some things to speed up your healing and all that. You know, you need to stop doing some things that are promoting it. Yes, intramural fibroids, you said, grows on the wall of the uterus. Yes. Okay, Ronke, are you asking a question? Okay, intramural fibroids, you said, grows on the wall of the uterus or inside the uterus. Okay, the intramural, let's look at my palm now. Look at my hand. Okay, now let's say this is the womb, right? This is the womb. You know that there's a hollow inside. That means there's a space, a gap inside. That's what we call the cavity, right? Let me see. Can you see like that? You see there's a hole. That is the cavity. Now, the way it is, just like in the stomach, we have a line, a thin layer. You can say like a nylon seal, okay, that covers it so that not everything just gets into the muscle, okay? Now, there's a kind of thing that lines it, right? There's a thin layer of mucus that lines it, okay? Now, after that layer, there is the tissue itself, like the muscle. If Yoruba, ishan, is it the ishan? The muscle is the ishan now. Like when you have meat now, that's a muscular tissue, the beef itself. So inside that layer, inside that tissue, the muscular tissue, that's where the intramural fibroid grows. Is it clear? Ronke, did you get that? Is that explanation okay? So inside in the middle, inside that muscle, that's where the intramural grows. Unlike the submucosa that grows just under the mucous layer that lines the inside. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You got it right? Thank you. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay. Yes. Is there any other question? Okay, so Ronke, I hope to see you next week. Next week we're going to be doing more. We're going to be really digging into, what you can do, what you've been doing wrong, and all that. And hopefully next week we should have the fibroid triggers list ready so that you can download it. Okay, how you can reach me? If you check my bio or my linktree, you see how to reach me. I have a Facebook page, Tokpe.ee. That's my Facebook page. Or if you check facebook.com/fibroid coach, it will take you to my page. Okay, then you can get some freebies from my website. You can book a session on my appointment calendar if you want to talk more to see how we can help you. Okay, that's let me drop that as well. Like Cake said, explain more on submucosal. Okay, like I said, let's look at my hand. Look at my fist now. Now let's assume this is the womb. Okay, it has a hole inside, right? You can see the hole. My finger is going through the hole, right? Now that hole is the cavity. That's what we call the cavity of the womb. The bladder also has a cavity. The bladder is kind of like a sac, so it has a hole that collects the urine. Okay, in the same vein, the womb is like that. It's like a sac, but it's muscular, and so because it's where the baby will grow in, is the sac that will harbor the baby, right? So it's like a hollow. It has a hollow in it. Now it's made up of muscles, and on the inner side we have a layer. We have something that lines it, just like we have a lining of the womb too, of the stomach, right? Now the womb also has something lining it on the inside. It's not just only muscle. It has what we call a mucosal layer or mucosal lining. So the lining protects that area so that the baby is safe when the baby comes in, and some things are allowed to get in while some things don't get in. And when your menses come every month, when your period comes, the mucosal lining will also go with it, degenerate, and another one will be formed. So like every month you have a new mucosal layer. Is that clear? Super Supply Cake, is that clear? Now under that layer, that's where this type of fibroid grows. Excuse me. Under that layer, okay, after the lining, just under that lining, that's where the submucosal kind of fibroid grows. So the fibroid is growing very close to that lining. You can imagine if a baby is implanted there, the fibroid will definitely be affecting that. It may not even allow the proper implantation because it's obstructing something there. So it may not even allow the implantation to properly take place, and so the implantation might just take place partially, and that kind of pregnancy is not likely to survive, because when you don't just like you have a seedling, if you don't plant it well and the sun comes and chokes it, it dies, right? So that's what happens. So is it clear now? Do you understand the submucosa now? Super Supply Cake, do you understand it now? I want to believe it's clear. All right, so if you have further questions, you can drop them, send them to me on WhatsApp. Okay, fantastic. Super Supply Cake says, yes, ma, thank you. You are so welcome, very welcome. So our goal is to liberate women. What I went through was emotionally draining. It was not the best of time when I was dealing with my moments, my years of having fibroid, those heavy menstrual flow with the large clots. I know. Then those were times that I actually avoided going out whenever I was on period. I dreaded my next period, but I'm so thankful for what God has done, how He has helped me, and that's why I'm sharing the message so that every other woman who is dealing with this is common among Black women, African women. because of genetic factors, and many women do not know that there are alternatives. You don't have to go through surgery, because I've seen, the unpleasant experiences of many women that have gone through surgery. Some died from there, unfortunately. Like a member of my church, before I even got married, that was what happened to her during a fibroid surgery, and she died. She passed from there. It's really sad, and some women have gone through surgery like 2-3 times, and the fibroids are not going, and it's because of not addressing the root causes. And that's why we are starting from the root causes. So it's important. That's why we are spreading this message, so that more women can get the information, get the news, good news, that you can actually put an end to these fibroids finally, and be free and get your life back, so that you can live that amazing life you've always dreamed of. You want to travel the world, you want the world to hear your voice. Nothing should stop you from doing that, and that's why we are doing all of this. Okay, somebody has a question. Super supply cake, can 16 cm fibroid be taken off without surgery? Okay, the question is, it can actually be taken care of, yes, without surgery, yes, but then it might take a while. It is possible. Okay, you only need to be patient. If you are ready to patiently do what it takes, yes, it is possible, but it's not going to happen overnight. It will take some months, and results are always not typical. For some women, within a few months, they are okay. Like I had a client last year that, within 3 months, she could take in. She had a baby. Her baby came in February this year, For some other women, it takes 6 months, about 6 months. So it depends on your body. Some people's body can respond faster to, to the treatment methods and all that. Some other people need to do more, or might need to give it a bit more time, So it is possible, but then it's not going to happen overnight. It requires patience. So if you are ready to be patient, why not? Patiently do what it takes, commit to doing it, and just get your freedom, so that you just address it holistically once and for all, and that is bye-bye to fibroids forever. Yes, it's possible. Now, by the way, 16 cm is under the category called large. Anyway, next week we'll be talking about different sizes of fibroids, different sizes. But it is possible, yes. It is possible to take it off without surgery. All right, so I hope, okay, Ronke Fori, can you shed a little light on your treatment methods? Okay. Well, basically, we address it from the roots. It's a holistic approach. We are not just giving you remedies, it's a rounded program. So we look at your diet and correct the things that are wrong in your diet, and we help to optimize the nutrient levels, because that's one of the things that fuels disease. So we are basically applying the principles of health. Holistic principles of health. So we are restoring health to the entire body. That's the good part of it. So we are restoring health to the entire body. We are removing the things that are obstructing the body from thriving, things that are promoting inflammation in the body, things that are fueling the growth of the fibroids. By next week, I should be able to share the fibroid triggers list with you, so you can also see these things and begin to take steps. Basically, we stop the inflammation, we remove the things that are causing inflammation, that are promoting the fibroid growth. Then we also correct the things that are wrong in your diet, so that you eat foods that will nourish your body, balance your hormones, and put you on the way to healing from these things, from fibroids, from hormonal imbalances. And then we use a few products, supplements, to double the results, to speed up the result. Because if you want to do diet alone, it can take so much longer time. But when you add this the correct product, then we double the speed of getting your results. So basically that's what we do. We actually go through some preliminary screening to see what is going on with your system, to know what is the best thing for you. So it's not really a one size fits all, even though we have a program design, but we also look at individuals' needs. So I can't even begin to say this is what you need, but there are some basic nutrients, of course, that you need, like the B vitamins. If your diet is right, some of these vitamins you may not really need them, So basically, you want to eat foods that are rich in nutrients, that are colorful, But we'll be talking more about those next week. It's been nice sharing with you, ladies, you guys, ladies and gents. I know some guys also joined us. It's been nice sharing with you. It's nice connecting. So I'll see you next week. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next week, Wednesday. And come with your questions. Next week, Wednesday is going to be intense. I'm going to be talking about things you can do and a lot more. So come prepared. Invite other women that need this. Tag them, okay? And let them follow Talk by Akwotive_fibroid therapist. All right. It's been nice being with you. Till I see you next week. Bye-bye. Say bye. Say bye. All right, ladies. Bye.